guys, welcome back to my channel. We've got a big video coming up today, so make sure you grab yourself a nice cup of coffee or a cup of tea, whatever you fancy, and let's go through all of the books that I read in May. I read 14 books this month, which is quite good for me. I don't normally read that many. I think it's helped that I had a week off work because I literally have just read this entire time. I only had 4 books on my May TBR list, so I had definitely exceeded that. As we know, I have finished the Throne of Glass series. So in May, I finished the tandem read, which I won't go into too much because I have done a full review over on my channel, which is spoiler free. So if you want to know more about my thoughts and feelings of the Throne of Glass series, head over to that video and I've got it all laid out for you. But yeah, so I finished these and then I moved straight on to Kingdom of Ash, which I read on my Kindle, and it was a really good series. I really enjoyed it. I liked the end. The ending, I think, was the only way she could have ended this series, and it was perfect, and I enjoyed it and I cried, and it was a very emotional, heavy series. So yeah, that was read. At some point, I can't remember when, while I was reading, I think it was while I was doing the tandem read or just after I did the tandem read alongside Kingdom of Ash, I can't really remember, I read Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I don't have the book with me because I gave it to my friend to read because it was really good. Wild Love is basically about Rosie and Ford, who are 2 childhood best friends, and Ford is a billionaire. So it's a little bit of a billionaire romance, kind of friends to lovers, I would say, is the trope for Wild Love. And it basically follows them. They've always fancied each other, let's be honest, even though they pretend that they haven't, and then they get older and they meet each other again, and it basically just follows their story and some other stuff happens. I love Rosie and Ford. I just think their characters were so adorable and so lovable, and I loved every single one of the characters in this book. I did rate it a 4.75 stars out of 5, only because the raunchy scenes were too much for me and I couldn't handle it, and I got too embarrassed, and I was trying to read it on my commute and it was just too much. Otherwise it would have been a 5-star. But that was Wild Love by Elsie Silver. I really enjoyed that, and I feel like it was just a nice light-hearted read. So after the really heavy series of Throne of Glass, I picked up Happy Place by Emily Henry because I needed something that was light and fun, and this follows Harriet and Wynne, who were engaged, and they're part of this like lovely gorgeous friendship group, and they have a holiday home that they go to every single year. Harriet and Wynne have actually called off their engagement, but they haven't told anyone yet, and they go on this holiday and they have to pretend to still be engaged even though they're not. Even though it's kind of a sad story, like when you think about it, that's actually really sad. But the way that this is written, it was so easy to read, and it was also kind of heartbreaking. Like, I felt so many emotions reading this. I did shed a couple of tears, and I couldn't work out what was going to happen at the end, which I think is really good for a romance, because romance books I find can be super predictable. You know, you kind of always think, well, they're always going to have a happy ending. But this one, I actually wasn't sure whether they were going to have a happy ending or not. So I feel like for a romance book, that's 10 out of 10 for me. And I really like the way that she wrote this. I feel like it was really creative, and I actually tabbed it as well because there were so many cute quotes in there that I really liked. So this one I rated a 5 out of 5 stars because it was very enjoyable. My first book by Emily Henry, and I definitely want to add a few more of her books onto my TBR. The next book I read was Not a Happy Family by Shari Lepner. So this is like a bit of a thriller, and it's about a family, like a super rich family, and the kids don't really get on. They hate their parents, but the parents get brutally murdered in the middle of the night, and it basically goes through and you have to try and guess whoever was the killer. I feel like this was really good, but the only problem I have with thrillers is that you need to have quite a lot of twists and turns in them because otherwise they're too predictable, and I did find this quite predictable, and I kind of wish the killer was someone else. I feel like she could have gone down some different avenues and I wouldn't have expected it, and it would have been better to read. But that being said, I did really enjoy it and I did think it was a good thriller, but I just kind of wish that it was someone else. I did rate this a 4 out of 5 stars, but in hindsight, I actually think this might have been closer to a 3. Yeah, I did enjoy it, but I think I just kind of wish it was someone else. So after I read the thriller, I wanted to go back into a little bit of a fantasy world. So I started reading the Fated by Starlight series, or actually I think it's called the Supernatural Institute series by Krista Street, but book 1 was absolutely incredible. I really enjoyed it. It was cutesy, it was fun, there was like a good romance in it. It wasn't too long, like I think these books are like 300-ish pages, which I really liked because it didn't feel too intimidating trying to read this, and I did finish it quite quickly. I didn't actually have any intention on reading the rest of the series, but because I enjoyed this one so much, I wanted to read the next one. So the next one in the series is called Born by Moonlight, and again I absolutely loved it. Like, I thought it was so fun. The cliffhanger at the end of the first book was kind of like resolved within the book, so it felt like a nice carry on from book 1. However, when we got to books 3 and 4, which is Hunted by Firelight and Kissed by Shadowlight, I didn't like them, and I was so disappointed because I thought that this had such a good potential to be a really fabulous series, but I just didn't enjoy them at all. She gets amnesia and then she forgets everything that you learn in books 1 and 2, so then I felt like book 3 was just a lot of like recounting what had already happened, so it was just a lot of like repetition, which it just kind of, it got to the point where it was boring, but I felt too invested in the series that I couldn't not finish it. The ending was nice, but I can't even remember what happened in the last book, so I think that just says it all. Individually, the first 2 books were like 4 stars out of 5, but I think as a series as a whole, I think it's going to have to be like a 2 or a 3 star because I just hated it towards the end and I just wanted it to finish. Let's go back into romance, and we read Flawless by Elsie Silver, which, guys, this is my favourite book of all time. I adored this from front to back, I did that the wrong way around. I adored it. I loved every single second, and I literally devoured this. Like, I read it so quickly because I just didn't want to leave the world of Rhett and Summer. Like, I was just so obsessed with them. I literally felt every emotion under the sun reading this, and I really connected to Summer, even to the point where she like really likes the gym. I just felt like I was Summer. Like, I'm a personal trainer, so for me, I was just like, I love her. She is a bit of me, and it made me so excited to read the rest of the series. So I moved straight on to Heartless, which is book 2, and this one follows Cade Eaton, which is Rhett's brother. So all of the books in the Chestnut Springs series are connected because it follows the same family, which I absolutely love. It also follows Willa, which turns out to be Summer's friend. So these books are connected, which I loved because you still got to get a little bit of Rhett and Summer because I just wasn't done with them yet. And I enjoyed it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as I wanted to, and I definitely didn't enjoy it as much as Flawless. For me, I just felt like it was a little bit long. I was very disappointed, but I still did enjoy it, so I did rate it a 3 stars out of 5. And then I went straight into Powerless, which was book 3, and this one follows Jasper Gervais, who's a famous hockey star, and his like family friend Sloane. You have Rhett and Cade in this book, who are brothers. Jasper's like their adopted brother basically, and so it follows him and his story. And I did really enjoy this, but it was so heavy. Like, there's a lot of heavy topics in this book, and she has kind of like a reader's note at the beginning, kind of detailing that she is going to touch on some pretty heavy topics, including like childhood trauma, death, and anxiety, I think. So while this was quite light-hearted and fun, this just felt very deep, and I did enjoy it, but I didn't enjoy it as much as Flawless. So I did decide to take a little bit of a break from the Chestnut Springs series and read something else after I finished that. So I moved on to The Inmate, which is a thriller by Frida McFadden, and I haven't read any of her books before, but I thought this was amazing. Like, I finished it, I think it was like yesterday morning, and I rated it 4 out of 5 stars because it kept you guessing the entire time, which is what I love about a thriller. And I love how there was different plot twists and turns, and you kind of like, you felt like you knew, like it was really leading you up to believe something, and then there's a plot twist and you're like, what the hell? It's not what I was expecting. And then there's like a few more plot twists, and then it's the end, which I really love for a thriller, because if a thriller isn't keeping you guessing and it's not slightly unhinged and scary, then I don't want to read it. But yeah, this was a really good thriller. Really enjoyed this. I would definitely recommend picking this up if you like a good thriller and reading it, because I really enjoyed it. And it's also not that long either. Like, this one's like 300 pages, and I like a book that's 300 pages because it feels like you can read it quicker. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to spend too long reading one book. I don't know why. That's just how I feel. And then lastly, I am currently reading Caraval, which I am loving. Oh my god, this book is so much fun. There's so much magic in this, and I don't know what it is. I can't pinpoint one singular thing that's making me love this book so much, but there is definitely something that is so alluring about it, and I absolutely love it, and I'm very, very enjoying it, and I want to finish it. So I'm on page 323 and I have this much left, which isn't much at all. So I think I will probably finish this today, to be honest, and then I want to read the next 2 books in the series, which is Legendary and Finale. And that concludes everything that I have read in May. I was going to say June then, we're not in June yet. And I feel like it was a very good reading month. There was quite a few books in here in this month that I didn't necessarily love, but still kind of enjoyed. And there was a lot of books that I absolutely loved. I think it's quite rare for me to find a book that is 100% a 5-star, and also something that I absolutely like, truly, well and truly love. I think I have read so many books in my time that I think things can feel quite repetitive and predictable. So when I do find a 5-star, believe me, it is a 5-star. I was actually, do you know what, actually, I'm just going to say about, we're going back to Flawless, because this is a book that I can't stop thinking about. A lot of people say that this is their favourite, but I really just didn't see that. Like, I actually really preferred the first one. In terms of what we're going to read next in June, let's go through that. So I actually have quite a few books that I want to read in June. The first one is, oh, I can't remember what it's called now, but it's our book club book of the month, and I'm probably going to get that on my Kindle, to be honest. Oh, what was it called? The Family Upstairs. So that is our book club book of the month, which I'm going to read. And then really want to finish the Chestnut Springs series this month. So the next 2 books are Reckless and Hopeless. I can't remember which way around they go, but I will figure it out. These are the 2 books that I want to read to finish off the Chestnut Springs series. I can't believe it's going to be over. I've absolutely loved it so far. Like, the past couple of books, obviously they weren't my favourite, but I still did really enjoy them. It wasn't like I didn't like them at all. I did enjoy them. I also want to finish the Caraval series. So we have Legendary and Finale. So these 2 books, obviously I want to finish. Once I have finished, where is it? Caraval, which I'm definitely going to finish this month, so because that's going to be gone today, I'm telling you now. So I want to finish these 2 books in the series. I then also want to read Once Upon a Broken Heart by Stephanie Garber. So I know, which is the same author as Caraval, by the way, if you haven't like heard of her before. So I know this is also part of a series, but the reason why I even know about the Caraval series is because someone said it's so much better to read the Once Upon a Broken Heart series after you finish reading Caraval. So that's why I want to read those first, but I'm actually really enjoying them anyway. A lot of people have said that they're not as good, but if this is better than that, sign me up. I can't wait. So this one is definitely on my TBR for June, because I cannot wait to finish Caraval and I want to read this straight away. And then the last book on my physical TBR is One by One by Frida McFadden. So this is a short thriller as well, and this one sounds really scary. It's about some girls that go on like a trip on holiday, and their car breaks down on their way to their like villa thing, and then it's kind of like the middle of the night, and basically they start dying, like one by one the girls start to die, and then I think you kind of have to figure out what the hell is going on. So I think this is going to be quite scary, but I also think it's going to be quite a good read. I have 7 books, which may be a little bit ambitious, but considering I did so well in May and read 14, I should be okay with that. Let's hope, fingers crossed. But thank you so much for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. Don't forget to give me a like and subscribe to see more videos from me, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!